Hello everyone, thank you for joining me for another episode of Antonio's Movie Reviews. Today I have the 1989 drama film Sex, Lies, and Videotape starring James Spader, Andie McDowell, Peter Gallagher, and Laura San Giacomo. The movie was directed by Steven Soderbergh. This is a film that I'd seen long ago that I would say likely introduced me to the genre actually. It may come off as slow for a lot of viewers, but personally, I was left with an appreciation for Soderbergh, especially with him only being 26 years old at the time of directing it. For his work on this film, he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. At the 1989 Cannes Film Festival, the film won a Palme d'Or and Soderbergh became the youngest solo director and the second youngest director to win the festival's top award. Without giving too much away about the film, the plot tells the story of a troubled man who videotapes women discussing their sexuality and fantasies and his impact on the relationships of a troubled married couple. Sounds simple.
I mean, the last time I was really happy, I got so fat.
You've got a ring on your finger, you start getting the most spectacular attention from the opposite gender.
Well, he invited this college friend of his to come stay at our house, and well, he didn't even, they're fine, except for I'm kind of going through this thing where I don't want him to touch me.
The film, in my opinion, is a highlight of Spader's career. His character Graham was very well acted and no doubt paved the way for Spader to have a career in the unorthodox sort of roles we've seen him in. I'm also a fan of Peter Gallagher since the 1982 film Summer Lovers. Gallagher's character represents that 80s archetype of the suspenders wearing yuppie so well. In this movie's case, John is actually a successful lawyer.
If you want to leave, leave. My life doesn't revolve around... Admit, the idea of doing it in my sister's bed gives me a perverse thrill. The beautiful, the popular Anne Bishop Mullaney.
In my house.
Ready to get caught?
Yeah.
For this movie to involve intimate sexual secrets captured on videotape, its dialogue is so well written in my opinion that it captivates you. You're truly immersed in the conversations. Andie McDowell plays Anne, who is such a suburban housewife in contrast to her sister Cynthia, who is basically described as loud by Anne. Laura San Giacomo liked the script so much that apparently she almost left her agency unless she was cast.
I mean, I do have some other things, but I don't. This is all I need to stay here. I was just curious. How do you like being married?
I like it just...
In regard to the dialogue, I think what was so remarkable was how thought-provoking everything was. I mean, the film does have a lot of slow-burning scenes, but it doesn't lose track of the point. I would have liked to have seen James Spader and Peter Gallagher on camera together more.
Family here?
Mother, father, my sister. I just think she's loud.
Yeah, this afternoon I was grilling Ann about your marriage.
How'd it go?
Who's Elizabeth?
It's a girl Graham dated in school, well after the chapel.
This movie was unexpectedly complex for me, and with that being said, you wouldn't think it could be as powerful as it is. Anne is in this loveless marriage to a man who is having an affair with her sister. I honestly can't say I've seen that too often. I'm sure it's a common enough story, but in writing this I can't think of a single film offhand. I can imagine in hearing my accolades about this film that you might watch it expecting too much. At face value, it might seem to be a depressing movie that follows four characters who are all sort of messed up.
Yeah, it's for you.
Is that for me?
Yeah, it's for you.
Can I tell you something personal?
It's up to you. Can I tell you something personal?
Yeah.
You have the unsuspecting wife being double-crossed by her sister of all people, and also her husband, whom also seems to be losing it when it comes to work. The old college pal Graham is a closeted, creepy videographer that harbors his own demons. These four characters come together in what is an incredibly intense, intimate relationship that made me personally feel like asking someone something personal. I mean, I have no other way to describe it. I think when I saw this movie, something like over a decade ago, I interviewed my then girlfriend on my BlackBerry. This movie has been sometimes described as a comedy too, I've seen. That genre is definitely not correct for this film, although it is kind of funny just seeing John the Yuppie's life unravel. There is definitely more to Graham though.
Did you confront John about the visitor?
You know, I was expecting him to be just like John.
Graham is not just some weird guy with a camcorder. I myself didn't remember the subplot of his ex-girlfriend Elizabeth until seeing this movie again for this review. That is also one of the critiques I have with this film. Definitely doesn't take away from anything though.
Goddamn pearl earrings. Cost me.
You know, how it was a really crowded flight, and I was sitting, I was just bored. My magazines were just boring. I think I had like I was just thinking to myself, God, that's what I need. I need a little, you know.
The critique is that if Elizabeth is such an integral part of Graham's entire identity at this point in his life, why is it that she is never shown in the film? Graham is impotent, but it's more of a psychological thing than a medical one. The principal photography for this film took place in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Graham's a minimalist.
Our interviews, huh?
Yes.
Can we watch one?
I promised each of the subjects that no one would see the videotape.
Sex?
What they want to do, but are afraid to ask for, what they wouldn't do even.
For Soderbergh to create a film with a maturity level such as this one at only 26 years old, that tells me he must have been very wise beyond his years. Sex, Lies, and Videotape is a very quiet film, though it also has a very lingering score attached to it. The film definitely has indie elements to it, especially with it being shot on only a $1.2 million budget in 5 weeks. What's truly shocking about how well this film was received is that Soderbergh wrote it in only 8 days on a trip to Los Angeles. One can understand how the title of this movie can lead one to believe that it'll be about voyeurism or some sort of lewd content, but you won't think that at all after watching.
And you just want to ask me questions?
Just want to ask you a question.
We went to the woods behind my house, and I had this feeling that he was checking.
What'd you think? Was it what you expected?
With a name so synonymous with success as Soderbergh's, you'd think he would have been catapulted to stardom with the critical acclaim of this film, but he wasn't. In fact, his critical acclaim quickly turned to a critical downturn with a string of low-budget films.
How'd you get through?
I told Janet I was Ann.
Would you like me to take my skirt off? The way I look?
Yes.
In looking at Soderbergh's filmography up until this point, I thought surely he would be attached to some of my favorite films over the last 30 years. I was sort of let down. I'd say his comeback would be in the year 2000 when he directed Erin Brockovich.
He didn't.
Did you take your clothes off?
Yes, I did.
Cynthia?
What?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, then don't. Speak with her.
What's she doing there?
She came by to show me a present that she and I are buying for your mother-in-law.
Personally, I feel like the reason I associated his name with success is because of the legacy of Sex, Lies, and Videotape. This movie fostered numerous writers to try and replicate the same thing as Soderbergh, turning $1.2 million into $60 million.
At 3:30, they said you weren't in. Do you remember where you were?
Last Monday. Oh, I had a late lunch. I have a late lunch by myself, and now I'm fucking somebody?
I've just got all this time on my hands, and I just sit around and...
In my opinion, this movie was definitely one of the earliest examples of clickbait because you didn't get what you may have expected by reading the title. I believe Soderbergh was masterful in titling this film because it underpromised to overdeliver. No one was making these types of steamy, risque sort of films in 1989, so Soderbergh was in the right place at the right time. The film being so direct and simple is actually part of its lore, in my opinion. Spader's intelligence of his character just really makes the story work. It's plain to see why he also took home Best Actor at the Cannes for his role. Oh, he's out of iced tea.
John and Cynthia have been fucking.
Said it on our tape.
Thanks for telling me. I really appreciate it.
Let's make a videotape.
Are you comfortable there?
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
I can't go without mentioning the cinematography of this film, which had a profound effect on how much I liked the movie itself. The cinematography was by a man named Walt Lloyd.
I want out of this marriage. Why? Then I went over to Graham's.
Graham's?
Graham?
Oh, God damn it, that son of a bitch! The backstab!
In one interview from a 1989 French film journal, Soderbergh is quoted as calling Lloyd's camera work seductive but discreet, which I personally think is the epitome of this film's style. The film was also added to the United States Library of Congress's National Film Registry in 2006. I know I mentioned earlier that the film is definitely a slow burner, and with that being said, may not be for everyone.
Is the sex satisfying? Do you have orgasms?
I don't think so.
Why don't we stop?
No. I don't want to stop.
I personally didn't know the film was so highly decorated. I feel like it was all in all a sign of the times. The movie unfortunately aged like milk in my opinion, but that's only comparative to 2022 standards. This is definitely a film that is frozen in time to be preserved forever as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. For me, the movie was so thoroughly put together that it's hard for me to find something to criticize about it. I mean, I could see that demographic of people actually looking for a rated X movie being let down, surely. This was a very complex scene.
Why are you doing this to yourself? Tell me why, Graham. Why?
What? What do you want me to do? You know, I look around me in this town and I see John and Cynthia and you and
I'm leaving my husband. And maybe I would have anyway, but the fact is
It's a very moody film that was very daring for its time, being released in 1989. I mean, what amazes me about it is the imprint Soderbergh was able to leave with his directorial debut at only the age of 26. I've seen a lot of indie art house films since seeing this one a long time ago, and I can honestly realize how influential this film was in procuring a space for those films to even exist. Of course, the ending of this film and many like it leave us with something to desire.
I fucked Elizabeth before you broke up. About all I can say about her.
I can honestly say I like Graham's way of voyeurism a lot better than William Baldwin's character from Sliver, or anyone else who spies on someone without their consent.
I can be happy without a marriage, but if you take away my work, I mean, that's different.
Mr. Mulaney?
Yeah?
Mr. DeForest would like to see you in his office.
All right, in a minute, I'm on with...
The next day, we see John finally get his comeuppance where it is implied that he is about to be fired. With this film, I believe it actually has its rightful place in society, that being in the top tier of all films. Some folks may not agree, or even like the movie at all for that matter, but we all know that film itself is a form of art, and art is completely subjective. The story of Sex, Lies, and Videotape explores what love truly means, in my opinion. It also explores trust and deceit. And this film is why James Spader is one of my favorite actors for these deep character portrayals. One thing about Ann is that she even found a way to forgive her sister. I like that about her character. I'd like to thank you all for joining me for my review of the 1989 film Sex, Lies, and Videotape starring James Spader, Peter Gallagher, Andie McDowell, and Laura San Giacomo. The film was directed, written, and edited by Steven Soderbergh. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.